The benefit of information technology policies and the implementation of IT evaluation tool, presented by Carlo Anya, School of Technology at North Central University, Team 7040. Dr. Chris presiding. The objective of this presentation is to describe a high-level overview of an evaluation tool for Tufts University. Explain benefits of adopting the evaluation tool. Describe the strengths and weaknesses of evaluation tool. Then present a new evaluation tool chart incorporating changes. Then we have appendix A, B1 and B2, then appendix C. We will have a re-evaluation of the organization's IT policy. Describe changes in IT evaluation tool due to the recommendation we made in the last session. Determine the success and effectiveness of the recommendation. And then we have to include new IT policies that has been designed. Evaluate the strategic value of having an IT policy, and then the importance of a business continuity planning. Describing the high-level overview of an evaluation tool for Tufts University. The purpose of this Tufts University policy at high level is to define the institution's IT best practices. Describe the approval process of cloud computing services when users process, share, store, and manage the university's data. This is critical because users have to know this information. So the scope of this IT encompasses the faculty itself, the staff, and the student body in using cloud computing services. The classification of the handling policies address the level A, level B, and level C, and then the level D. We have to review all this. So the review committee includes the IT Leaders Forum. In July 2014, there was an approval and effective. That was the approval date for this policy. The executive managers and IT policy managers have the responsibility of approving and executing the policy, and the upper management is the change driver. The benefit of adopting this evaluation policy: one, we have information policy that simplifies and clarifies the functions for every employee and stakeholders within the organization. IT policies are essential for providing security and countermeasures for the organization's computing resources. It will help organizations to mitigate risk, define the way organizations execute, employ, and control threats, and comply with government regulations. So documenting policies is to enable the IT department and the upper management of the organization to collaborate and set rules and standards for effective and efficient decision making. The IT helps organizations to fabricate a framework that monitors and measures regulatory compliance, and then establish trust that will offer a competitive edge for the organization. IT policy serves as an avenue for communication and transparency in information for new employees. So we look at the strengths of this tool. Tufts University covers several IT policies dedicated to the protection of the university's information resources. The IT policies include cloud computing services. We look at the copyright and fair use policy, email standard and guidelines. We look at information acquisition policy, the mobile device policy, and network use policy. These are so instrumental in making sure that the organization is on good footing to protect the assets. So IT policy helps organizations to regulate the institution's data. The data are restricted by the Information and Privacy and then protection laws that are promulgated by the government, whether it is the federal government or we look at the state level. So regulatory and binding contractual responsibilities are very critical also. For example, non-disclosure agreements or industry compliance requirements are essential for good business. We look at the weaknesses. IT policy weaknesses include the breaches caused by a third party. This is critical. It is good to know about this information. Third party are a problem for many organizations. Breaches that occur as a result of a third party service operative does not exonerate the university from assuming the responsibility of the protection and privacy of all stakeholders, customers alike. So risks associated with the cloud storage include certain loss of service and data without notification, compromise of data stored, processed and shared are sold to third party, which is a breach to the organization's data. We look at also the intellectual property rights of data stored in the cloud, which are also compromised. So our recommendation for the effectiveness of these two, the IT policy of the institution should incorporate institution-wide security education training and awareness program, what we call the SETA program, security education training and awareness. We also recommend that responsibility should be assigned to specific IT manager who will oversee the SETA program and then report to the upper management. We also have to institute a proper sanitization and disposal of institutional data. This will help faculty and staff to learn how to destroy the data securely. Again, we look at the data inventory methodology, which should be implemented to account for the institution's computing assets. These are critical. We need to know what we have in our organization to document. Institutional data should be maintained and accounted for at all times. Re-evaluation of the policy, the IT policy for the TUF. So, IT policy of Tufts University integrated the ability to promote and maximize value for the IT investment in the area of acquisition. So we have a shared labs services, design and delivery of next generation data center. The university adopted the recommendation of the consulting researcher. The proposed recommendation includes the security education training and awareness program, assignment of responsibility to IT manager concerning the SETA program, reporting to the upper management, implement awareness program, and then data classification and handling. We also talked about what changes that were brought because of the implementation of the recommendation that we made. So the security education training and awareness program is to ensure that the users understand the ramifications of the inherent uh, threats to organization. So users must you have to plan, to play in mitigating risk. We also looked at data classification, data handling, and then the data loss prevention that will help users to understand that protecting the institution require greater responsibility. We also emphasize on teamwork, which is paramount in the protection of network infrastructure of the institution. Suggested recommendation. These are recommended changes that will lead to success of IT policy effective evaluation. So the adoption of the security education training and awareness program ensures that the institution's computer users understand their responsibilities in fighting all forms of security threats. We look at the security threats that include the protection from malware, with protection against intrusion and attempt to exfiltrate intellectual property, protection against hacking, viruses, denial of service, and phishing. So we have data classification methodology and data loss prevention that serves as a protection against confidentiality and avoidance of unnecessary violation of federal and state regulatory compliance requirements. We look at the new IT policies and evaluation tool. Information technology policy is an instrument used to control the actions of employees and other stakeholders to protect the organization network infrastructure. Documentation of financial reports. So we look at accounting. The accounting information methods and internal reports. And this has become a fundamental record prescribed by the Sarbanes-Oxley regulatory requirements. Then we look at the IT policies that will help the organization pursue meaningful security posture, such as acceptable user policy, which covers email and internet. We looked at the peer-to-peer file sharing, software installation policy, the minimum acceptable standards for network authentication, password secure creation, and frequency of password change. So the backup policy covers backup strategy, identification of critical data system, and then the cloud backup. We also have the storage backup. We look at incident response that covers how the organization will respond in the event of a security breach. We have to define the security incident, whether it is physical or logical, and this includes the plans for recovery. The email policy sets standards on how and the way to safeguard company information when using emails. Through the adopted recommendation, the awareness program, malicious insiders are put under surveillance because of the security awareness introduced. evaluation of the strategic value of having effective IT policies and adopting the sector, and then the business continuity planning. Any pro any proactive organization throughout the whole world understand the ramifications of effective information technology policy. IT security policies details ways to mitigate against threat and set guidelines on how to use the organization's resources. The IT policy organizations help organizations to provide a framework to monitor and comply with the federal and state regulation, establish trust, reliability, and transparency. Any IT must meet the characteristics of a successful policy. These policies must be endorsed by the upper management. It must be relevant. It must be realistic, adaptable, attainable, enforceable, and inclusive. Every cadre of the organization should know about this policy. Security education training and awareness program and business continuity planning is the central focus of protecting the organization. Then we have well implemented BCP as value to the organization return on investment. Business continuity planning is a good business practice which is the function of risk management. So a strategic risk management is the ability to identify, analyze, assess, and then manage risk and uncertainties. A risk management that supports a business continuity operation will help organization to identify threats, assess the risk and impact of the risk. Organizations use a BCP to respond and recoup from calamities, the disaster that will befall the organization. We look at the business impact analysis that helps organizations to identify appropriate vital services that allow companies to recover within a time frame. The BIA operation uses three metrics to support the time frame. We have the maximum tolerable downtime, the MTD, which is the length of time system will be down without significant damage. We look at the recovery time objective, which is the amount of time system will be unavailable. And then we look at the recovery point objective that represents acceptable loss. So we have to understand that documentation in all these things is very essential. These are key to business impact analysis. So looking at the new evaluation tool chart and that's incorporating. So we look at this new evaluation tool chart in Appendix A, B, and C. Thank you.